Hello everyone, welcome to another live video session of THiNC Institute of Design. Today we are conducting a discussion about the interaction session, which will be about the topic of Nift GAT exam, most important language topics. The session will be handled by Nift alumnus Arjun J B. Hello sir, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay sir.
So I think let's start with the session.
Yes. Sir, before we begin, I would like to discuss about the upcoming curiosity quiz. Host, will you please share the slide? Okay, for those who are new to this, there will be a curiosity quiz coming from the 29th January, starting from 9:30 p.m., which will be exclusively based on the Nift exam. So try attending the quiz. It will be beneficial for your practicing of the Nift exam. So that's it, folks. So you can take over the session.
Yeah, thank you. So, hello everybody. So we will be starting today's session, which is for general aptitude test, and we'll be going through the language part of it. And before I start with what exactly is general aptitude test and why is Nift having such a part in their examination, is basically to understand the kind of language that you are comfortable with, and what is your reach of knowledge in terms of vocabulary, in terms of usage of words, in terms of communicating what you have in yourself to a different person, to a third person. So all these abilities are basically tested by institutes like Nift or NID to ensure that the candidate they select is always at a place where they have the abilities to convey what they have in their mind. So continuing, I'll just present a split of the questions that the number of questions that comes on GAT. So as we can see on the slide, what you can see is in terms of undergrad courses as well as postgrad courses, the total number of questions for undergrad is 100, as well as the total number of questions for postgrad courses is 120. And if you look at the numbers or the split, the ratio of questions that is asked, what you can see is communication ability as well as English comprehension is something that covers the major part of the question paper. So that is where you can see that that is a major number, and if you are strong at this particular these particular subject, that means you have already cleared half of the question and you are strong enough to go ahead with the rest. So that is how important these two topics are in terms of how Nift's GAT exam is concerned. So moving forward, I'll be explaining in detail about what communication ability is. For now, because I'll be presenting slides, I'll be turning off my video for a moment, and you can have a look at the slides. We'll continue the session. So as you can see here, what communication ability is, it is just defined as the ability is something that is used by any individual to make sure you are giving or receiving any information in form of any kind. It can be something that is spoken, it can be something that is read by you, it can be something that is written by you. So all these forms, you are giving information as well as receiving information. But the main aspect of communication skills is, or communication ability, is to understand the information in a crisp and clear manner, where the information is shared to other person and the other person is receiving in a form of understanding that you had in your mind. So this, as I mentioned, it also involves listening, speaking, observing, and emphasizing the information. Now, just to have a rough idea of how communication abilities work, I've just put an example in the slide. As you can see, Will Lent is a young professional hired by a consultant company. He achieved the top position of his college promotion because of his brilliant analytical capabilities. Will is now part of a finance team that helps companies in process of improving their finances. In his first presentation to a client, Will did not seem assertive and presented too many slides. His boss realized that Will request to develop his adequate communication skills and suggested a 2-week course focused on his abilities. Now, in this, I've just highlighted a word which means assertive, and what exactly does that mean? So, what we can understand from this particular, incident that is mentioned here is The person who has been hired is having like brilliant analytical skills, but when it comes to the communication skills for this particular person, he is not able to communicate what is required to a third person properly. So in such situations is where you need to ensure that your communication skill is perfect. Now, how to go about it, how to make sure that you have a good communication skill is what I'll let you know in the next slide. But again, one more thing, what I have to say is communication or communication abilities, you will get it as question papers. In the question paper, that is in the gap question paper, where you will be having certain portions of the questions from communication abilities. But then again, this will come back to you again in the second or third rounds when you are going in for a group discussion or a personal interview. That is when again your communication abilities will be tested. So this is something that has been tested at 3 different stages in terms of Nift entrance exams. So you should be very clear about how you communicate your thoughts or your ideas to the person sitting in front of you. So the first round, you'll be giving your communication skills in terms of written abilities. Second and third round, it will be in terms of speaking as well as observation abilities. Now, let me take you forward. The next slide, it is basically some steps how you can simply improvise your communication abilities. Now, if you look at the slide, what you can see is you can improve your communication abilities. What you have to do is to improve vocabulary. The more or the abundance of words that you have in your vocabulary is something that will help you improvise your communications. So if you have a lot of words or good words or alternative for words in your vocabulary, whenever you're communicating to any person or when you're writing something down, you can use those as an advantage for yourself to make sure that your communication is perfect. The same is what helps in CAT exam, where there are certain questions which connects to spelling of the word or the meaning of the word or the opposite of the words. So these things also need vocabulary, where your vocabulary will help you improvise all these qualities to answer such questions. Now, the second and the most easy way is something that even I have used personally. It is where you watch or watch any English movies or English series, mostly which uses British English, to make sure you are always having a visual as well as audio examples of how people speak and how is message conveyed to a different person, or how they bring out whatever thought is in their mind. So such things also help a lot. So that is one easy thing. Now the next thing what you have to do is, whenever you're getting a chance in a public forum, or might not be a very public forum, or maybe a small group of people who you are known to, and you have been asked to present something to them or give a talk or give a speech to them, utilize such opportunities when you will be able to talk to people and you will be able to gain confidence in terms of how to present or how to have interaction with other people. This will also help you increase your communication abilities, your usage of sentences, and at the same time, it will give you more confidence in terms of facing interviews or group discussions and such things in future. Now, the fourth and the most important thing that anybody can do to ensure that they have better communication abilities is to read. So this is something that is very important. Read whatever you get. Read a book you're getting, read some online articles that interests you, read a blog or read any magazines. So whenever you are reading something, you're making sure that you're gaining knowledge and your vocabulary is also increasing, your language is increasing, your idea of paragraphs or framing passages is increasing. Such things happen. So these are like 4 simple steps which you can use to increase your communication abilities. Moving forward, the next thing is comprehension. So comprehension is also important, because when you're reading a passage, it is also not to just read a passage when you're reading through it. There is other part of understanding what exactly is there in that passage. What is the information that the passage is giving you, or what is the information that particular word or line is giving you. These informations are basically collected by you in your mind, and you use it again in terms of giving answers to questions, which will be basically how or why. So in Nift entrance exams, you'll be facing a lot of questions which will have passages in terms of comprehension. Also, there are places where you can use these abilities to ensure that the case which is given to you is solved by you. So there are certain places in terms of BF Tech degrees or maybe management degrees where you get case studies. So case studies also use the basic process, which is comprehension and reading and understanding a passage. And I can see certain questions which is coming in the group. So the question which is not related to the topic yet will be discussed towards the end of this session, which is anything related to admit cards or any questions related to how to fill in an application form, how to join Nift. All such questions will be answered at the end. Right now, I'll be moving forward to this session and the topic that is covered. So I'll be answering your question at the end. Oh, so let me continue. Now, there are other certain simple steps where you can also improvise your comprehension. Now, there are 7 steps as I have mentioned here. In this, first is improve your vocabulary. This is something similar to what you saw in the previous slide also, where it is useful in terms of understanding the communication abilities. Now, vocabulary is something that helps in communication. It also helps in understanding things when you read a passage. So vocabulary is always important as it is. Next is to understand a passage and come up with questions to the text that you're reading. So 2 things which I always would suggest and would ask you guys to keep in mind is that whenever you are reading a passage, there are information on the passage, and when you're reading through it, make sure that you have 2 questions in your mind always, which is how and why. So any information given in the passage, you can go for a question, why is that information given and how is that information relevant in the passage? If you have these 2 thought process in your mind, you will be sure to get the answers to half of the questions which is asked past the passage is given. Now, the next thing is use context clues. So context is something that always helps us if at all we get stuck at the point of time in answering questions from a passage. So context is basically nothing but when you're reading a passage, you just go through the passage and then try to understand that, okay, this particular word which is given in the passage, I am not getting the meaning of that word. But what I can do is to go through the whole sentence, and maybe then I'll understand what does the word mean or something like that. Okay, that is one thing where you use context. Or maybe that is filling the blanks, and then you are reading through the passage and you see the word which is used in context with that, and you can use a similar word from the passage and fill in the blanks which is given to the question. Now, the other thing you have to keep in mind is to understand the theme of the passage, or maybe to get the main idea of the passage. So every passage is written by an author, and when an author is writing a passage, there is a background to it. So that person will have something in his mind, a topic in his mind, which helps the author to write that passage. So you should be aware what is that topic or what is the theme of the passage that author has used to come up with the passage or come up with a piece of information. That is one thing. Next is to go read the passage and form a summary of the passage. So once you're reading the passage, you'll understand what is it exactly about. Then summarize the whole passage into small brief where you can, use that particular brief later to give answers to questions which is not exactly to the point, but related to the passage. That is one thing. Second is that breaking passages into smaller pieces. So what happens is there are certain passages which will be very, very, long for you to read. And then what you can notice is that these passages will make it difficult for you to come up with answers to certain questions that is followed by the passage. Now, at that point of time, what you do is you divide the passage into maybe 2 or 3 sections where you will find that, okay, the questions which belong to this category will be in the first section. The second category questions will have in the second section. So you just divide it and then try to find out the answers to such questions. Now, the seventh thing is to pace yourself. So ensure, because you are giving a competitive exam and you have a time limitation to answering your questions, it is also important to make sure that you answer the questions at a faster pace. So whenever you're going through a passage, if at all you have to read it twice, make sure that every time you read it, it is at a rate which is just not usual. Just pace through the passage and make sure you are able to get an understanding of what exactly the passage is about. So read it twice, but make sure you do it faster so that you can complete your exams on time. Moving forward, so usually these are the patterns of questions that come in the general ability test examinations in terms of language. So there are different parts. These are a few of the parts where you will get questions in which first one is where there is a question in each of the following question out of the given alternate choices, which one expresses the meaning of that given word the best. Now, this is where synonyms comes into play. So there will be a word, words given in the question, and there will be options, like 4 options of other words given. Now, what you have to do is you have to find a word from those options which matches very much, or which is a different meaning of the same word which is already given. Now, the second type is something similar, where again you will be given a word and then there'll be 4 options. But this time, what you have to do is you have to go for the opposites of the word. So if you're given a word which is bad, the opposite would obviously be good. So you'll have to find a word which is opposite to the word meaning of the word which is given. The third is where you are given a lot of spellings in front of you, and you'll have to opt for the correct spelling. So now, when it comes to spelling, synonyms and antonyms, the best thing is to improvise your vocabulary. So as I mentioned earlier, where both the communication abilities as well as comprehension abilities needs vocabulary. Similarly, here is also where you need vocabulary to ensure that you get to answer these questions. So it will be very easy for you to understand, okay, what exactly is the spelling to that word? Have I tried it in my mind? So that is one thing. And the second thing that happens when you go for spellings are basically in your mind, you will have the spelling of that particular word. But when you look at a paper, you have 4 options. If you look at these options, it will make you feel as if, okay, those two might be the correct spelling, but I don't know which one to go for. The next alternate is to just write down the word, take a pen, write down the word on a paper without even looking at the spelling. Then there will be a spelling in your mind which is already learned by you that will come out, and you can then select the correct answer to the question when it comes to spelling. That is one way to go about it. Now, the fourth part is where you will be given a lot of different sentences. It's basically jumbled up, not given a proper sequence. Then there will be questions following it, where you will get 3 to 4 questions. In these questions, they'll be asking about what are the kinds of what is the sentence that could come first, or what would be the sentence that should be in the third position, and what is the sentence that's in the last, or something like that. So these things are where you will have to make sure that you arrange the different sentences in proper sequence to make a meaningful passage out of the sentences which you are given. So this is also something where you can use context as well as basic grammar, where you can match sentences using grammar or context that is given. Now, for these types of questions, I've also kept some examples where we go through this and we'll see the examples and try to understand how it works out. So this is the first part where you have to go through the questions and find out alternate words for the word which is already given. So in this, what you can see is 3 different questions. The first one is indict, and something that there are 4 options, and out of these 4 options, one word is something that means similar to the word indict. And as I have already marked the answer, it would be C, that is accused. So indict basically means somebody who is accused, or something that is to be accused of. Now going to refectory, again, the word that means similar to refectory is a dining room. So refectories are basically dining rooms which are in religious places or organizations, and it's a huge dining room. That's refectory. Now, next is improvement. what you can see is advancement is something that is similar to improvement, but then you will see other options which might like sound similar to the meaning of improvement, like betterment or promotion prefaces. So all in this option, you might be confused if it is betterment or if it is advancement. So you should be very clear about the fact that improvement is something where you advance or where you grow a better height, and advancement is the right option for the question which is given. So these such confusions can be avoided if you have developed your vocabulary like massively, and you can easily answer such questions when it comes to entrance exams. Now, going down, next is where you go for the word which means the opposite of what the word is given. So there are three words already given. One is familiar, which obviously the opposite for this is strange. Next is doubtful. Then you know the opposite for doubtful is certain. And if something is shrinking, that means the word is shrink. So the opposite for something is shrinking is to expand. And that's how you find out words which is opposite to the words which is given. Now, the next part is where you are given different spellings. So there are like, again, three different words where they have 4 different spellings for each word. Now, when you read through the spelling, you will have an idea of how the word millionaire is to be spelled. So the correct option, which you know, or if you feel like that is the correct option, you can go for D, the option which is millionaire. Now, if you have doubts regarding such spellings, the next thing, as I mentioned earlier, what you can do is to write millionaire without even looking at the question or the options given. Just take a pen, write the word millionaire. There is a spelling for the word which is already registered in your mind. It will automatically come out and you'll get to know the answer. So looking at the options would at times confuse you, but writing it out and then finding the answer is something that you can do easily because it now confuses you. Similarly, for the word psychology as well as foreign, there are 4 different spellings given, and the correct answer to those spellings, the correct spelling has been highlighted in green in the slides. Now, the next form of question, as I mentioned, is where you get sentences, 5 sentences in a paragraph. So what you have to do is you have to put the sentences in a form where you will make sure that it forms a meaningful paragraph. So as you can read, it is the first line is the knowledge so far available about the endocrine glands is very limited. Second is nature has provided the body with proper regulators and protectors. Third is these are our endocrine glands. And so for this, and so the proper functioning of these controllers of our body is very important and most vital for health. Fifth goes, however, all medical science have accepted the fact that these endocrine glands secrete thousands of different types of hormones directly into our blood. So as you can see, there are a lot of different, lines which is given, and you have to arrange it in a sequence to form a better and meaningful paragraph. Now, next is the questions which comes following these passage or these lines, something similar to this, where which of the following should be the first sentence, which should be the third sentence, or which should be again the last thing is which should be the last sentence. Now, what I have done is in this I have arranged those lines into in proper order where you can see that they form a meaningful passage, and this is how it works. So the first one should be nature has provided the body with proper regulators and protectors. These are our endocrine glands. The knowledge so far available about the endocrine glands is very limited. However, all medical science have accepted the fact that these endocrine glands secrete thousands of different types of hormones directly into our blood, and so the proper functioning of these controllers of our body is very important and most vital for health. Now, when you arrange it like this, you will find out that there is a very meaningful, passage or paragraph which has been formed out of it. So this is what you do. So in such exercises, when you are answering the question, you will have the lines like this in the question paper. What you can do is you can number it on the left side, where whichever you feel should come first, give it number 1. whichever you feel comes second, give it number 2. So number it as per that, and then try reading it out. That if you feel that there is some improper grammar or improper way the meaning is coming out in the passage, then again change the numbers and try a different combination. So once you're comfortable with, or once you feel like, yeah, that is making a meaningful paragraph, you just accept that thing and go answer the question which follows by. Okay. Now, the other thing is, if you have any questions regarding any of these topics that has been discussed, what you can do is go to the live chat and put your comments there so that I can get to see if you have any doubts regarding the things that has been presented in the presentation. The next thing is for more live sessions or more, interactive videos, or to get to know what has to be done in terms of preparing for design degree college entrance exams. Follow our page, as well as go like the video and press the bell icon. Of course, you'll get a notification when you do that whenever there's a live session happening. Anyways, let me continue next. So this is again where I have put up passages. So basically passages are being given in terms of understanding how your comprehension is. So you'll be given passages in the question paper, you'll be reading through it, and followed by the passage, there'll be questions which is related to the passage. And those questions can be answered if you understand the passage as a whole, and if you understand what is the information that is being tried to put out in the passage by the author. And also if you know that what are the different how and why questions that can be formed out of the passage that you have. Now let me read through this passage and make you understand what are the questions that is followed by and how are they being answered. Organizations are institutes in which members compete for status and power. They compete for the resource of the organization. For example, finance to expand their own department, for career advancement, and for power to control the activities of others. In pursuit of these aims, groups are formed and sectional interests emerge. As a result, policy decisions may serve the end of political and career systems rather than those of the concern. In this way, the goal of the organization may be displaced in favor of the sectional interest and individual ambition. The preoccupation sometimes prevents the emergence of organic system. Many of the electronic firms in their study had recently created research and development department employing highly qualified and well-paid scientists and technicians. Their high pay and expert knowledge were sometimes seen as a threat to established order of rank, power, and privilege. Many senior managers had little knowledge of the technicalities and possibilities of new development and electronics. Some felt that close cooperation with experts in an organic system would reveal their ignorance and show that their experience was now redundant. So the other thing which I had to mention is whenever you're reading through a passage or whenever you're reading through any book or any piece of article, the one thing that you have to make sure is to find out words which might be a bit confusing for you to understand. So if you find out words which doesn't give you the exact meaning of why is it in that paragraph or in that line, try to find out what does it mean and how is it relevant to that paragraph. By doing this, again, you will get to understand the word, the spelling, and you'll add something new to your vocabulary. Now, let me go ahead with the questions that come out from the passage. Now, in this passage, it is the questions are related to how author sees the passage. The first one is, the author makes out a case for. So from reading the passage, what you can understand is it has been mentioned about organic systems in the passage. So the case which is made out of in the whole passage and the theme of the whole passage, how it has to go, is something related to the organization as well as the organic system. So from the options which you are given, the one which suits the best is the organic system. So you go for that answer. Now, going forward, the next question is the theme of the passages. So as I mentioned earlier to you guys, whenever you're reading a passage, make sure you understand what theme it is or what is the topic of interest for that passage. So if you get to understand that, then if you get such a question where you've been asked about the theme of the passage, it would be easy for you to answer the question. Now there are other options given, but if you look at those options, it is not very matching with what you read from the passage. And what you can see, the option D, which is the emergence of sectional interest in organization, is something that can be the theme of the passage, and that's how you answer that question. If you guys have any questions regarding any of the things that has been presented on the presentation, you can always put in your queries on the chat box, and I'll be answering those to you. Going forward, the third question: policy decisions in organization would involve. So this is a question where you can get the answers from the passage itself. So this exact line might be given in the passage there. So you read through the passage, you will find the line, then you know what is the rest of the line is, and then you find out that from the options that has been given to you. And then the answer to this question in that format is how the option D is. Policy decisions in the organization would involve keeping in view the larger objective of the organization. Now this is where the author tend to see the senior managers. So this is how the question is how to characterize a person present in the passage, or about an organization present in the passage. So this is basically after you understand what are the points mentioned in the passage, and when you read anything, or when you read about a person, or when you read about an organization in a passage, you will understand what is the kind of character that has been developed for that person or for that organization in the passage. So using that particular knowledge, you can go through the options which is given, and again find out a suitable character to what that senior manager is, and you can use that character and answer this question and go for the option which is best suiting the passage's characteristics. Sorry guys, there was a small technical glitch, so I'm just reconnected. So let me continue. I hope I'm audible to all you guys, and I'm back online. As so, the next thing is the second passage, where it's a very small passage. It does like having very concrete informations to what it is given. So let me read through this thing. And laws of nature are not commands but statements of acts. The use of the word law in this context is rather unfortunate. It would be better to speak of uniformities in nature. This would do away with the elementary fallacy, and that a law implies a lawgiver. If a piece of matter does not obey a law of nature, it is punished. On the contrary, we say that the law has been incorrectly started. Now, sorry to stop in between. I'm getting a question again regarding how to activate the admit cards. So anything related to Nift's activations, or anything related to admit cards and examinations will be answered towards the end of the session. So we'll be doing that so that you'll understand how to go about it. Anyways, till then, let me continue. So in this passage, which is given about the law of natures, you can see the question which comes first is, if a piece of matter violates nature's law, it is not punished because. So from the options which are given, it is that it simply means that the facts have not been correctly stated by law. So if certain facts are not correctly stated by the law, then obviously somebody who is violating it will not be punished. That is what you get from the sentence, and that is how you answer the question. Similarly, there are other questions to this passage. The other one which you can see is laws of nature differ from man-made laws because there are options, four of them. Uh, you might feel like they are natural as something an answer to it, or maybe unlike human laws, they are systematic, such things. But again, something from the passage which suits this question's answer better is the former state facts of nature. Now, next one is the laws of nature based on observations are subjected to change in light of new facts. So, as the passage says again, there is always change which is constant. So, when a question is asked regarding the laws of nature, what has been observed from the passage, you get that thing where it is written, it is changed as something that is constant, and you answer the question, which is from the option, and D looks similar to the answer of that question. Let me continue with the next passage. So altogether, what I have done is I have selected three passages where you can understand what comprehension is, and how to go through the passages, how to read it out. So the thing you have to notice is that whenever I'm reading a passage, just give ears to how exactly I'm reading the passage, how exactly am I using the commas, or how exactly my speech is going out when I'm reading it, so that you understand when to stop a sentence or when to start a sentence, and why are the punctuations given in the sentence, what is the relevance of such punctuations. So these things will also help you understand the passage better when you read it properly. And also the next thing is that if you understand the usage of punctuations or usage of words, it will be better for you to speak out at a platform whenever you get to speak out, maybe at a group discussion and things like that. Now, just for an example, if we can see in this passage, there's a punctuation which is at the starting. So if I read this passage like this, at this stage of civilization when many nations are brought in to close, if that is how I read the first whole sentence, then it will be difficult for me to make out what does that exact sentence means. Now, if I am reading the sentence like in a way where I'm using the punctuations exactly, it would give me a different meaning to what I'm reading. Similarly, make sure whenever you're reading a passage, you're using the punctuation which is given in the passage. So let me read this passage for you, and let's see how it goes. At this stage of civilization, when many nations are brought into close and vital contact for good and evil, it is essential, as never before, that their gross ignorance of one another should be diminished, that they should begin to understand a little of one other's historic experiences and resulting mentality. It is the fault of the English to expect the people of other countries to react as they do to political and international situations. Our genuine goodwill and good intentions are often brought to nothing because we expect other people to be like us. This would be correct if we knew the history, not necessary in detail, but in broad outlines of social and political conditions which have given to each nation its present character. So this passage is basically explaining how civilizations, develop their characters from the history that they have traveled through. Let it be a country, let it be a continent, let it be a set of community. They always develop their characters from how their civilization has, uh, performed in the past, and what and all activities or what and all events or what and all behaviors that they have shown in the history. So this is just a brief of how this passage is and what exactly the passage is talking about. Now, when you're reading through the whole passage, what you can see is there are vital informations which help you understand or answer the questions which is following by. Now, this also explains about it is the fault of the English to expect the people of other countries to react as they do. Now, as you can see, the usage of the word English is basically to define the people of Britain. So whenever you're saying somebody is English or that person is English, it is basically that the person is from the UK, the United Kingdoms. So such words are used in passages which you have to catch quickly so that whenever a question is asked, you'll understand, okay, why is that word used there? So Let me go to the questions followed by. According to the author of Mentality of a Nation, is mainly product of its. So as we read through, it is basically because of the history of the nation, how the mentality of the nation changes or how the character develop. So from whatever you can see, the options, the best answer suiting from the passage is history. So we'll go for that particular option. Now, the next is need for a greater understanding between nations. So in the passage, it is also mentioned that at the present scenario, it is needed that the nation should understand each other better to maintain better relationships. So between nations is more today than ever before. So the requirement is at this moment of time. Then even if we needed before, it was not needed before much. So that is one option that goes as per the passage. You go for that option. The characters of a nation is a result of its socio-political conditions. So that is in the passage, as you can see at the last lines, that is mentioned, socio-political conditions cause the characteristics of the nation. So that is the answer to this question. That's how we come up. According to the author, its countrymen should have a better understanding of other nations. So as the author mentions that the English people, which he is referring to the people of the UK, should have understanding of other countries or other nations and what their history is, so that they have a better understanding of what is happening across the globe scenario. The next is Englishmen, like others, to react to political situations. Like the options, it is like as we saw in the line which I already read and highlighted. So Englishmen or the people of Britain want people to think like how they think or how they react. So that is how you come up with the answer to this question, where Englishmen like others to react like themselves to understand political situations. So these are like basic questions that can come up from a passage. And if you note the important information that is given in the passage, it is very easy for you guys to answer questions that comes following the passages. So basically developing your vocabulary skills, reading skills will help you ensure that you can crack any comprehensive questions which is coming in the whole of comprehension part from the examinations. So as mentioned at the start of this exact session, there is a quiz that is also available on the website. Also helps you get more knowledge into questions that can actually come up for your examinations, and that will also improvise how you try studying for the exams. So whenever you're getting a chance, or if at 9:30, just join for this live quiz, and you'll also win exciting cash prizes. Go for that. So following this next, I'll be having a question and answer session, which will be for about 10 minutes. But again, as mentioned earlier, if at all you guys want more content where you can understand about topics related to Nift, or you can, try to find out answers that you have regarding Nift's, like questions which were asked in the group, similar to how to activate things, the entrance examination cards, or maybe how to apply for Nift entrance exam. What are the different centers or what are the relevance? Such things can always be understood from live sessions that has been organized. So go follow the channel, subscribe the channel, go press the bell icon so that you can get notifications when there is any live session coming up. So you're updated about whatever is being put out there, and you can clear your doubts. So next we'll have a question and answer session where if at all you guys have any queries, you can put it in the chat box and I'll be answering that. The next thing is anyways, there is some time for me to get the questions. So what I'm saying is the whole process of how English language has been put up in Nift question paper is basically to understand if the candidate has the caliber to understand things that is being taught, or they have the caliber to convey to the the college or convey to a third person whatever is there in their mind. So this is something that they consider very important. Every person has different skills, different mindsets, and they can come up with wonderful designs. But at the end, the thing what you need to do is to convey what you have created to a larger audience. And that is also an important part. And that is why you have the language section in your question papers. So as I said, please make sure that you guys read a lot. Try to watch series where you get to know the usage of words properly, movies or English movies where you get to know the usage properly. And the other thing is try to understand the short passages whenever you get to read. Try finding out meanings of the words which is given in passages or which is given in the books, whatever you're reading. Always make sure that you have a timeline in terms of reading and understanding a passage. You can like practice it by using a stopwatch or something. If not that, you can just keep on working in passages, giving answers. uh, Take up sample questions, answer sample questions. It will always be helpful because at times you never know that what if the same question comes in the question paper. So go through all the possible resources available online, offline, or from any of the institutes, or maybe from THiNC itself, and then try to improvise your skills in terms of words, in terms of reading and understanding passage, how comprehension exactly works, and that's how you improve the whole thing. What you can see is we have put a link to how to get the admit card. So you can get the admit card when it has been released online. The other thing is, as I was mentioning, go subscribe the channel and opt for push notifications bell icon to get updates that is happening. I think that'd be something for now because I haven't been getting any questions. I hope you guys understood what has been told in the session, and all the questions and all the examples that has been put out in the session is just basically to show you what is the kind of questions that is to expect. But when it comes to language, there are n number of options, and there can be any question, any passage that is coming in. The only way to go forward is to try practice again and again, and to read more and more, so that you, at a point of time, can answer all the questions given to you completely and do the best out of it. I think that's it for now. So thank you guys. If at all you have any queries, always feel free to post it on our chats or connect through our social media channels to THiNC Institute, and your queries will be solved. And with regard to the quiz that is happening, if at all you are having a query, make sure there's a number which is provided in the chat box. Dial up the number to get more details about how to join the quiz or how to go about the quiz, because that is happening at 9:30 today. So just use that contact number which is given in the chat box. That's it for now. Thank you guys, and all the best for your exams. Do well. I'm sure that you can do it. It's not a very easy task. Just be prepared, just read, and then you will crack language easily. And as I said before, you crack language easily, you finished half of the question paper. Yeah. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that session. I hope all the Nift aspirants could have enjoyed the session and got more idea about that topic. Okay. Regarding, there are more questions regarding the admit card. Okay, Nift admit card has been released. Okay, you can find it in your candidate portal. The more details will be available in our next live. Please do join the session. You can find all your doubts there, and you can get all your doubts clear at that session. Okay, also do participate in our curiosity Nift mock quiz today at 9:30 p.m. It will be a good experience for before the exam. Okay. One more thing to add. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. we will be having another live session for the Nift aspirants. Okay. Do stay tuned. Do subscribe our channel and have a nice day. Thank you.